Hello. So I shared in a post earlier in this week that the last 5 or 6 months or so in my business have been the busiest that I have had thus far, which is amazing because it means that I have been able to work with a ton of great clients and really help them shift a lot of things and witness huge transformation and healing. And it's been amazing. And as I was reflecting back on this, I realized that what comes up for me when I start to get busy like this is a fear of burning out and getting fatigued. And as someone who has lived with chronic autoimmune issues, this is something that has come up for me a lot of different times in my life in different ways. And so this time around, I decided that I was going to look at it a little bit differently. And the story that has always come up for me is that, in order to be successful or to have a successful business or support myself, I need to burn out. In order to succeed, I need to burn out. It seems as though fatigue and burnout are just inevitable. And if you've listened to the Live Well podcast, I've had a lot of guests on that speak specifically about this phenomenon of burnout, because I see it so much, not only with myself, but with my clients too, especially people that are dealing with chronic autoimmune issues, but really anyone. So it's something I speak about a lot. And if you've heard that, you've heard me talk about it a lot of times, how that story or idea for me has been that burnout or extreme fatigue is something that is inevitable. And so as I was reflecting over these last 6 months, which have been some of the busiest I have had, I realized that there was a couple things that I had put in and that I had been doing to help support my body. And that's what I wanted to share today, is that I've, first decided to flip the script to say that burnout and fatigue are not inevitable. There are definitely ways you can support your body while still being successful, productive, profitable, all of these things, and helping people in the way you want to help them. But for me, I know that I'm not going to be able to serve my clients in the best way or show up and really hold that space for coaching if I myself don't have any reserves. So that's why this time around I have put a big emphasis into caring for myself really radically. And I just wanted to share the top 3 things that I've been doing recently, in addition to, considering diet and all these different things, but top 3 things that I've kind of shifted that have really been working. So the first one is that I have been eating regularly. And that sounds really obvious or easy, but I think a lot of times these days we hear things about intermittent fasting and having longer periods of time in between when we're eating. And that is great, right? Because it gives our body a chance to rest and digest and process its food. But if you are in a place where you have adrenal fatigue, and I myself in the past working as a nurse have had adrenal fatigue, you have blood sugar issues where you have big energy crashes, or you're expending a lot of energy, sometimes eating in a way where you're going hours without getting anything in your body is not going to be supportive. So you have to figure out where you're at right now and what your body needs at this moment. So for me, over these last few months, what's been really helpful is eating really regularly. And I eat 3 meals and 2 planned snacks, which is different than grazing throughout the whole day. But what it does is it allows me to keep my blood sugar up without having these big old crashes. And it allows me to feel like I have more energy and fuel. And ideally, as we go along, I'd be able to space this out a bit more and have a little bit more downtime so my body has more time to digest and process and rest. But right now, this practice is helping me more than anything else could. And if I tried to get up in the morning and fast until noon, no chance, I'd feel horrible. So that's the first thing, is eating regularly. And of course, the foods that I'm eating regularly are good nutrient-dense foods that have enough protein, fat, and fiber, carbohydrates to keep a good balance. But really maintaining that blood sugar has helped with my energy immensely. So I definitely recommend checking in, seeing where you're at with that. If you feel okay going for longer periods of time without eating, that's fine. But if you are in any stages of adrenal fatigue, or you're having blood sugar issues, or just big energy crashes, it's a good idea to put things in a little more regularly, at least for a period of time. So the second thing that has been helping me a lot is considering my caffeine intake. And a lot of times when we get busier, the caffeine ramps up. because we feel like we need that support. And what's really happening is that coffee, specifically for me, coffee and caffeine, end up taking energy stores from tomorrow. They're not really giving you energy, they're kind of taking your energy. So if you are at a place where you're feeling a little more depleted, sometimes having excess caffeine is actually going to be robbing you of that energy and just further deplete you down and down and down. So just check that. The questions I like to ask are, how am I using coffee or caffeine? How are you incorporating it? Is it you need it every few hours to function? You need it in the afternoon to combat that afternoon crash? And how is it making you feel? Just get honest around those two things. I tried to bring coffee back in a couple weeks ago. It makes my stomach hurt, and it just sort of like ramps my nervous system up to a place where it doesn't need to be because it's already there. So for me, I can still do caffeine, but I opt for matcha, teas, and things like that to keep it a little more even and balanced. And that has helped my overall energy so much. So considering your caffeine is a great place to start if you're feeling a little bit overworked or stretched thin or burnt out. And the third piece is I have gotten really mindful of multitasking. When thinking about the things that drain my energy, multitasking is for sure one of them. And this means that, when I have time in between clients, what I'm used to doing is like, okay, how can I respond to these emails? What can I do in the 10-minute period to get this task done so I can stay motivated, I can stay productive? Or if not that, I'll grab my phone for no reason and start scrolling through just as a time saver. What I've realized is that multitasking is so draining for me, so draining, to not allow myself that blank space in between coaching or pretty intense, activities and sessions really takes my energy. So once I realized that, what I've been trying to do now is allow myself that white space, that blank space, to have nothing. So in between a coaching call, say I've got 20 minutes or something, instead of responding back to emails or trying to, write up a worksheet or create a meal plan or something in that time, allow myself some blank space to literally do nothing, which might feel foreign at first, but it has been so helpful. And I find at the end of the day, I have so much more energy stores than I had about 6 months ago when I was not doing this practice. So those three things for me, just putting those in, have made a huge difference. There's, obviously other things at play, like getting enough sleep and water and all of this. But those three things have been ones that I've really focused on that have worked. So I would love to hear if you have any ways that you support your body during busy times, what works for you, or if you have challenges with this, write me a question in the comments here and let me know, and we can talk through some of them. I can address it in my next video, because what I really want to do is find easy, tangible ways for you guys to feel like you can support your body even during busy times, because more and more I'm seeing people who are just so stretched thin, so busy, and feel like everything is just sort of bigger than us, is just sort of beyond us, and we can't get a grasp on it. So sometimes just having, really simple things you can bring in helps you to feel a bit more control and helps to increase that energy tank that we really need to be able to go through our days and give to others as well. So let me know if you have any questions, and I hope this was helpful.